Hello, legends and super legends. Welcome to Veloharmony's Friday live Q&A. We've had an unusual week here weather-wise. It's been raining all week, and pretty much every day there's been different showers, thunderstorms and different things. So it was a different kind of week for me. The only workout I did was indoors on the trainer on the blue bike. I haven't even set it up for the weekend yet, so I'm not sure what we'll be doing. But it's good to be here to talk about cycling. Welcome, everyone. Hope you guys can hear me fine. All right. So we're going to start over what we left off with last week. I don't know how many of you saw the film. We had a pretty good ride with the Team RR boys. So we got a great workout, very intense ride. Even after we left them, we just kind of carried on. And so it was a great workout. And you have to prepare yourself with proper structure, training to get to where you can do that stuff without feeling like you're on the limit every time. Those of you who saw the film, you saw how I was riding, because you have to really stay fluid to really be able to roam the bunch. You can't be dragging a heavy gear. You're not going to break away from any group dragging a heavy gear. You're not going to drop any rider dragging a heavy gear. It's just, you're like a diesel. It takes forever to get that momentum. So that's one thing you need to keep up with. Hey, Victor, welcome. So what we're going to be doing here is, for the most part, I got some notes from some of my members. I told them, if you can join, you get priority for your questions. Those of you who are not channel members, when we start the roll, because I'm going to make this like a regular thing to where we're answering general cycling questions. If you get to where you need specific help, I will put links to the services we offer. You can sign up for that. But for the most part, to keep things moving along, we're going to focus on the super chats and the members when it gets really, really hectic, which it did the last time. I couldn't get to everybody. I hate to leave questions out there because people, want to benefit from it. But really, this is just to guide you, to point you in the right direction. And so hopefully that's what people are using it for, So we got, I mentioned in the last video that the lady who actually handles the marketing for Suki, there's another one of their jersey that we got. They're going to send us more jerseys. She wants me to downsize and try an XL. This is a 2XL in their cut. But according to the dimensions, it works for me. But what I found was that when I do load the pockets, because I carry a lot of stuff, they had a tendency to kind of sag a little bit. So she said her designer saw the film and suggested that she have me downsize. So the next batch of jerseys they're going to send us will be one size down. But the jersey fits me fine up here. It's just, and I have this problem with a lot of jerseys. So I end up in the past, I've had some of them altered. You get a good tailor, they can take it in, tighten the waist, because a lot of the vendors, their dimensions, you can get your chest okay. A lot of time the waist is too big, because my waist is about 35. So a lot of the jerseys, anything bigger than 35, when you really load the pocket, they sag a little bit. And so, but it wasn't that bad. They're about as picky as I am. So I'm really enjoying working with them because they're very meticulous, and that kind of piqued my interest. The jersey I wore last week has a completely different fabric than the one I'm wearing today. So they're not all the same. The one I wore last week has some kind of an imprint in it that you have to see up close, but it gives it just a textured look, and it's very lightweight, very breathable. So I really had a good time using it. It's an excellent jersey. Welcome, Cisco 213. Cisco said, "I'm not built European cut, only specialized jerseys fit." Well, they have to use something as a standard, and depending on the manufacturer, you're going to have to figure out what comes close. So a lot of times when there's a doubt, I just downsize, because I like my kit to fit me tight anyway. But most of the jerseys that are made with this quality of polyester and elastane, they're very stretchy. If the jersey is stretchy, when there's a doubt, you downsize because it will be okay. But if the material is thick, then you got to be careful, because if you go down too small, it'll just be like you'll be dancing trying to get into it. So I don't have a problem getting fitted on most of the manufacturers. Castelli is the one I have the most challenge with. So as a result, I don't own a lot of their kit because they're all over the map. Their shorts, depending on what they're doing, they kind of have a tendency to change the size, especially the inseam. That's been my challenge with them. You get one brand if it's an endurance brand, and then you get the race brand, and the race brand will fit you okay. The endurance might be a little short. So they're just all over the map, and that's always been a challenge. Alex Ray says he's struggling with Overshoes, tried all sorts of brands, yet to find one. Overshoes. They're made for different purposes. So I have my favorite Overshoes are made by Rafa. They're kind of hard to get your hands on because they sell out pretty quickly. The Pro Team Overshoes by Rafa I think, is the one that I go to most of the time. Now I do own other Overshoes like the Pioggia 3 from Castelli. It's really good in the rain. That's for rain. That's for heavy rain. The Rafa Pro Team Overshoes for heavy rain also. If you saw the rain video, the group ride, we use a sleeve to keep the water from going in from the top. That solved that problem. That was the one little problem that we had. So if you're having problems with it as far as holding water, I'm not sure what kind of challenge you're having. But you want to size them like you size your cycling shoes, because if you get them too big, then you have excess stuff on the toe that sticks out. So you have to find out what the purpose is. They have overshoes that are just designed to keep you warm, and they have overshoes that's designed to keep your feet dry. So if you need something for the rain, you want something that's breathable. Otherwise, it'll be like a hot box and your feet will sweat. So you give up a little bit with the breathability, but your feet will not get soaked, because whatever, like the Pioggia 3 gets damp, but it still keeps the shoe dry. I don't know how they do that, but I like the breathability it has. And it goes way up your ankle, has a good silicone gripper. But I use another gripper on there. I put the link in the group ride video for the rain that we had. And the link is there for where you can get that sleeve. The sleeve works really well, keeping the water out. So if you get, I have overshoes for just cold weather, and I have overshoes for wet weather. And I have overshoes for cold and wet. So for example, for cold and wet, I use the Rafa Deep Winter overshoes made out of neoprene. I like the fit and the function, and it keeps you warm as well as dry. So it serves both purposes, especially in the winter. But for all year riding, I just use the Pro Team Overshoes. They have a nice big reflective band that's under the zipper when you zip it up. It's nice and big in the new model anyway. I like it because it's easy to get on. So you don't want to be fighting to get the thing on. That's the biggest thing. So it shouldn't be too hard to find. Just find a brand that designs an overshoe for your purpose, whether it's rain, because you can't find everything in one overshoe. Like I would not wear the deep winter overshoes this time of year. It's too warm. My feet would be too warm, even though it will keep my feet dry. So that's when I use the Pioggia 3 or the Rafa Pro Team overshoes. Robert Tangler is here. Hello, Robert. Welcome. Noel Pagan. Dwayne says he's vacationing in his hometown, New Orleans. You must be underwater. New Orleans has been getting slammed. Took a week off. Yeah, it's always good to get some time off. Yeah, we've been getting hit. There's a front that's pulling moisture out of the Gulf. And so southeastern U.S., from anywhere from Corpus Christi all the way up to New Orleans, and I think even Mississippi, there's been a lot of rain this week. A lot of flooding, flash flooding. Yeah. So Alex said, yeah. Yeah, to keep the water out. I made a video. If you search on the channel, Alex, for the Peoria 3, I did a thorough review on that. It really works really well to keep the water out. I have it right here. It's another reason I like this setup. This is what it looks like. But if you look at that video, you'll see everything. This band, the silicone band here, keeps the water from getting in from the top, running down your leg. But in addition to that, we use a sleeve that we slip over this. The sleeve is right here. We use this sleeve. It's a neoprene sleeve, and you slip that over it, and it basically seals. All the water goes over the sleeve, and nothing goes inside. I put a link in the video. I will put one after this video is done and recorded, so you can find a copy. But that's the weakness in all of these. The water runs down your leg and goes in here over time, and then it gets soggy. With this sleeve, that eliminates that problem. And then you have to make sure that your shoe does not have the vents under them. Make sure they're covered. You can put duct tape over them. That's what I do. Cover that vent. And make sure that where your cleat is attached. I had a shoe from Giro that had a hole in the middle that used to accommodate the retention. There was a little retention clip. As you switch cleats, it was like a memory holder. And it left a hole in the shoe. I ended up putting silicone in it to cover the hole, because you don't want any holes, because water will get in there and then your feet will start getting soggy. So as long as your shoe is sealed and you put this on, I rode this the last time like 6 hours or more, no problems, especially with this sleeve. That's been the weakness. So we solved that. Yeah, this would be a good one for you for rain, because it's very breathable. Whatever material they use, you can see on the inside is nice and soft, and you could probably wear it down maybe to like 10 Celsius, or like 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It'll probably be okay. If it gets really cold, then you'll need something warm. So you need two sets, several sets. You need a set like this for rain all year, and then you need something for rain and when it's cold, because this will not keep you very warm, and you don't want to be wet and cold. So that's something to keep in mind. Noel Pagan just picked up a new bike, and he said he used this whole saddle to save all my fit positions. Definitely don't want to start all over again. Well, hopefully the new bike has the same geometry as the bike you took your saddle off of, because if the geometry is off, you will be off. So you need to make sure that your seat tube angle on the new bike is the same as the old bike. That's the critical one. If the angle's not the same, then that position on that bike where that saddle was on the railing will not work for you. Let me go to my member here, Robert Tangler. Speaking of gearing, what is the largest granny gear a person can get? I'm not sure there is such a thing as the largest. It comes down to what your bike will accommodate. So, but on a regular road bike, I think they go to like 34 or more. And people can do custom stuff, Robert, to where they get longer cages for the derailleur to accommodate more. But once you start going above 34, it kind of starts looking odd, because then you're getting gears in the back that's as big as your chain ring in the front. So if you're riding like a tandem, they have even more flexibility to where you can get more, because you need that. It's heavier and so forth. So there's no limit to what you can put on there. You would have to do a custom order. But as far as the stock bikes, they don't go much over now 28 to 30. When we start talking about gravel bikes, depending on the discipline, they might go a little more than that. Can order whatever they want. You just change the cage. You get a long, it will accommodate anything. But if you're running a 34 in the front, I don't think you need to go much below a 34 in the back. You know, that's like a 1-to-1. So Alex said he struggled with the Asos ones. I have a pair of the Asos S7, I believe they call it, and it's pretty good. It gets on really easily. I haven't had any problems. The biggest thing to make sure is that when you're putting them on, you get this over the cleat, because when you're putting them on your shoe, the cleat grabs this stuff. It grabs this, the back one. So you got to get it over the cleat and make sure this does not grab on the cleat, so that this nose comes over the shoe. You don't want it to look like this after you wear it, to have extra stuff sticking out. That happens when you buy too large of a size. You need to buy the same size as your shoe. So this is a 45 and my shoes are 45. You want it to fit nice and neat, because all that extra stuff, if you have extra stuff, that's just dirt gonna get in there. There's a lot of grit and stuff when you're riding the rain. So it needs to fit neat. It works better when it fits you well. But these will work. But you need that sleeve, or you need somewhere to make sure the water does not get inside from your lower leg. That's what makes your foot get soggy, and then it just ruins the ride for you. And when it's warm, I don't even bother wearing gloves in the rain. There's no point to it. When it's cold, I have neoprene gloves. We have waterproof gloves, because it's important to keep your hands dry when it's cold. But it's warmer, late spring, early summer. I like, I just bare hands, just go. Feels good. In fact, this time of year, I mostly use a vest versus a rain cape. I only use rain capes in the winter. So the biggest thing is to keep your torso from getting soaked, especially in the winter. Because if you're sitting and you have mud guards on your bike, your rear is going to be fine. The rain rarely gets you wet back here. Your legs are moving and doing the work, so you're fine. So yeah, you just got to get out there and try. It's fun. I like riding in the rain. There aren't too many people out. Roads are clear. It's just a whole different experience. Let's see here. Raymond Cesario. So Nicholas says impossible to get them. I'm not sure what's impossible to get. Maybe he's talking about the gearing. Need a wide cycling shoe. I'm not sure what you mean by wide. I mean, everybody's got. So they've got. Let's see. I have a medium. I guess my foot, they say it's medium. I use Giro shoes. They're pretty wide. Lake makes wide shoe. You have to get your dimensions and then find out. If you look at the Lake brand, they make wide shoes. There are a lot of shoes out there that are wide, but it depends on what you mean when you say wide, how wide your foot is. So you pretty much have to go to a local shop, see what they carry, and then kind of get an idea. Because the Lake brand, even Shimano has really good wide, and they'll tell you, they'll have like, I think they use, I don't know if they use WW or W or EE or whatever, but they'll let you know extra wide or whatever. So yeah, Michael Mandarino, welcome. Paul's here. Hey, Paul. Raymond Cesario says, hello, I have a question. What type of tires can't I put on my road bike that would let me ride a little I guess he meant that would let me ride a little in all terrain and conditions, but still be able to ride in a pack and not slow me down. The tires don't slow you down. It's your fitness that does. Your road bike is limited by the spacing you have. So, for example, all the bikes you see up there, let's use the Colnago. That's an old steel bike. I can't go much over a 28, not because of the bike, but because of the brake caliper I have on there. It will rub. So the 28 is the largest I would put on there. And so you can buy a tire that's made for a hybrid, but you have to get the size that will work on your bike. So you have to know what kind of clearance you have on your bike and decide which tire will fit your frame. Now, when you're talking about all terrain, on a road bike, you're limited. You can't ride a road bike on all terrain. So even if you put a hybrid tire on your bike, yeah, you might be able to do a few dirt roads, but you can't do mud and other stuff like that. So the road bike is a discipline. So if you want to do other terrain, then you need to get like a gravel bike, because it's almost like a road bike, but it has more clearance to where you can use larger tires now. So you're limited by your frame so much, but you're not going to be going as fast as the guys who are fit and using the tires we use. We're using you're using tires for the road, and if you two of you have the same fitness and you're using tires for off road, you will have to work harder to keep up. So you have to get the tires for the specialty that you're doing. It's kind of like a race car. You don't put the wrong tires on a race car and go to NASCAR and expect to beat the top guy. It's not going to happen. So if you're going to ride on the road with fast riders, you need fast tires on your bike, or you need road tires on your bike, because the tires is your contact with the road. So if you've got all-terrain tires on your road bike that have tread and stuff, it will take more work for you to get. You won't have the acceleration and everything because you've got tires that are designed for dirt, maybe, even if your bike could take a 32 or whatever. We have a guy that comes out. He works at one of the local bike shops. He joins us on Sundays sometimes. And he always gets dropped because he brings a gravel bike to a road bike ride. He always gets dropped. Not necessarily because of the bike, but I watch him and he's working harder. When we're accelerating on the climbs, he's carrying more weight. He has more friction because of the tire. So we just, while he's still struggling. So you need to get what you need for the specialty. You need a bike for off-road, and you need a bike for the road. That's why it's called a road bike, not an all-terrain bike. So if you want a bike to go on and off-road, then get a mountain bike, put the right tires on it, then you can do both. That's what I would recommend. I wouldn't take a road bike in the dirt. It just doesn't work that well unless you get a gravel bike that allows you to put larger tires, like I said earlier. So everything has a specialty. That's why they got gravel racing, they got mountain bike racing, they got road racing. It's a specialty. Once you start trying to cross over, nothing can do it all very well. You give up something in each discipline. A road bike will not outhandle a gravel or a mountain bike in the dirt. Just not going to be the same. The feel will be different. They're designed for different things. So if you want to do gravel racing as well, gravel riding and road, then get one of each. You don't have to buy anything very expensive. You can shop around and get something used, but get something for that discipline. They're designed for that. So let's see here. Yeah, Alex just said Lake works. Yeah, somebody's asking for a wide shoe. You're just gonna have to do your shopping and do your work. There's no easy thing, depending on the size of your foot, until you find the brand that works for you. I stick with Giro. I've talked about it here before. I stick with the Giro, Shimano, even Lake. But I currently just use Giro and Rafa because they have good room in the toe box. But my size is 45 medium. So I don't consider myself to have a large foot, or a wide foot. So if you have a wide foot, they have shoes that are made wide for that. And a lot of manufacturers have a wide version of their shoe, but you're not going to see them in the bike shops that often because there's not a big market for it. So you need to do your shopping online or talk to somebody at a bike shop that carries that brand. But the reason I mentioned the Lake, they're known for that. Back in the day, they used to have a brand called Karnak that was known for that. Just a wide toe box. That's what you're looking for. If you went online right now and just search for wide toe box cycling shoes, they would pop up the brands that carry that. All right. So let's see here. So Alex says Lake and S-Works. I'm not familiar with S-Works having wide stuff, but maybe Alex has used them. I haven't had good luck with the Specialized shoes in the past, but that was a while ago. The cycling stuff changes all the time. Michael Mandarino, a couple of questions about your bikes. Do you run Campy Super Record cassettes on all your bikes, or will you use record? I use Campy Super Record and Record. I don't use Chorus. The Chorus cassettes do not shift well with my Super Record shifter. They will work, but they work poorly. I don't like using things that work poorly. So I only use Record and Super Record. Let's see here. Cisco 213 started 2018. Been riding a gravel bike with road tires. Do I get dedicated road bike or just get new wheel set for the gravel? I've only ridden around 9,000 miles, lying around 40 pounds. Yeah, you don't need to get a dedicated road bike as long as the wheel will fit that. So yeah, um, I wouldn't ride the gravel with road tires. If you're doing gravel right now, you will be better off putting gravel tires on there. They will reduce your chances of getting flat. You can run lower pressures and so forth. And yes, if you're going to do both, then get another wheel set. Since you already have a road set up, get a gravel set, get a set of wheels for gravel. And the reason why I'm saying wheels for gravel is the wheel needs to be built to of the gravel track. So you have to look for wheels for that and then get gravel tires for those wheels and then take those road wheels and only use them on the road. Because what's going to happen is you're going to tear up your road wheels if you keep using them on the gravel. Not just the wheels, your tires. You will have more flats, more cuts, and so forth. They're just not designed for that. Hopefully you're using low TPI tires because they'll carry you a little more if you're riding on gravel with them. But yes, get dedicated wheels for gravel. You will have more fun. If the bike can take it, put the biggest size tires that will fit and enjoy that and run the lower pressure that it will accommodate. You will have more fun on the gravel than trying to use road tires that need higher pressures. Welcome, Nicholas Davino. Musaba, hi from France. Well, welcome. Let's see here. Cisco said he thinks I answered this question. Well, I hope so, Cisco. It's just you're just gonna have to. Yeah, you need to do. Yeah, I wouldn't even tell you to buy gravel tires and put them on those road wheels. No, get some strong gravel wheels and put gravel tires on them. You will have less headaches with it being out of alignment, wobbling, and you will have less. It will last longer because it's built for that. They were built them with stronger spokes and everything for the pounding, and you will have more fun. So yeah, everything is a discipline. You can't be splitting hair. You whenever you do that, you're giving up something. It's like you're hedging. And you're not getting the benefit. It's kind of like trying to watch television and work on your computer. You're losing something. You're not going to be able to really work, and you're not going to enjoy that program. This multitasking is overrated. You want to do something, do that. Then when you're done, go do that, the other thing, because then you will give it your 100% and get 100% out of it. That's why when you see us cycling, there's nothing in my ear. I don't want anybody calling me. When I get on my bike, I take my phone. The first thing I do is put do not disturb on. And then I put it in my pocket. Done. I don't want nobody calling me when I'm riding because it distracts. You can't be, So yeah, you have to treat everything that way. You'll have more fun. Let's see here. Alfred says, good evening. I'm Alfred all the way from South Africa. Welcome. So I enjoy your videos, always watching great content. Keep up the good work. I've learned so much as per bike setup and bike fit and applied a lot. Well, good. Let's see here. Musa from France says, started biking with gravel bike since 2018. I love watching videos and do learn a lot. Well, that's good. I don't do the gravel riding. We don't have a lot of gravel tracks here. We kind of have to go out of our way to find gravel. I did mountain biking a long time ago. That really helped me with my handling. We just do the road. I love riding on the road. Let's see, Nicholas Davino. I want to swap out my handlebars for carbon. Do I need to change the stem as well? Not necessarily. I went from carbon back to aluminum because my carbon bars had a catastrophic failure. Thank you, Cisco. Appreciate the super chat. My carbon bike, I made a video about it. So if you search on handlebars on the channel before you change, here's my take on it. All my bars are aluminum. I don't have any the extra ones here. They're in the shop. All these bikes have aluminum. You're not giving up anything. The carbon bars cost a lot more. The weight's very close. Okay. Now I'm not talking about the ones that are feeding the cables through all that fancy aero stuff. Yeah, the aluminum can't really compete there if that's your thing. But my biggest thing was I was on a ride with the UMC guys. I don't remember what year it was. It might have been 2016 or 2017, something like that. And my bar just went like that. You know how you're walking and it's like you step in a hole. I reached to put my hand on my bar and there was no bar. The tape was holding it and it caused me to fall. Basically did a flip because I was expecting the bar to stop my hand and my hand just went. So I flipped. That's it. I changed all of them. I made a video and I went back to aluminum because apparently at some point I never crashed the bike. So I don't know when it happened. So it was just an inherent problem, I believe. It's kind of like at some point, the bike itself may have the bars, I think, came with a defect. And the only way with carbon that you can tell is with an ultrasound. So there was no cracks, nothing that I could tell. But basically, after I fell, the other guys that were on the ride just noticed that my bar was just hanging by the tape. The tape was still intact. You couldn't even see the bar. And that was what. So you have these catastrophic failures, and that was it. So all my bars are aluminum. There are a lot of riders, professional, amateur, whatever, UCI level, that still ride aluminum bars for this very reason, because they want to know, if I'm in a crash, can I still just get on my bike and finish the ride or the race? With aluminum, they will bend. With carbon, you can't tell. So be careful if you're switching for a reason. If you're trying to save weight, that's not a reason. But I'm sure you've got a bet. So just think about it. There's a lot involved in there. I like to know that my contact points are sturdy. So there's just certain things that carbon, I think you got to be really cautious with. That's all. I think you guys heard about, what's his name? Matthew Vanderpoel was riding I think it was a Canyon bike, and his handlebar just broke during the race. They did a lot of recalls, and they're still trying to figure out what happened. So yeah, it happens. It happened to me. I crashed, and I still have the scar. Let's see, which elbow was it? I think somewhere here. It's kind of hard to see. There was just a long scar to prove that. So I don't do carbon bars anymore. I've never had a problem with carbon bikes. I just had a carbon bike that was in size correctly for me, for my taste, and so I got rid of it. But yeah, the bars, I don't know. I will stick with aluminum. All right, let's see here. Cisco. Let me go to Cisco. Cisco, I want to thank you for the super chat. Means a lot. Appreciate it. I'm trying to buy Cervelo Caledonia, but you're talking me out of it, saving me money. I don't want to talk you out of it. I want to give you information. So I kind of know what you're driving at. If I were to buy a carbon bike today, my challenge would be getting my size of 55, 56 with a long enough top tube. They don't make that off the rack. To get a 50, if I bought a 55, the longest top tube might be 57 or something like that. See, I need like 55 with 59 or 60. So I'm not running a 16 of stem. Even what's his name? Noel Pagan can root for that, because I did Noel's fit remotely, and we had to get him to get a very long stem because he had the same problem with the frame he had. So I can't buy any frame in my size. I'd have to go to almost a 60. And it's, that 60 might be a 58, if you don't count the over what I call the lug, what lugs used to be, how they measure to top. If you do center to center, I'd have to get a 58 to get a top tube close enough. Well, for what they're charging, I can get a custom bike, even made by Calfee, because Calfee makes custom carbon frames, and eventually, hopefully, we'll get more people making them. I'm sure they're out there. I'm not sure to pay the same money or a little less and get a frame that fits me, so I can run a 12 or a 13 stem, not some ridiculously long stem like a 15 or a 16. That's my challenge with bikes off the shelf. And the other thing is seat tube angle. I don't want a 73. If you look at my Colnago, I had to get a seat post with a 3.2 centimeter setback just to get that saddle 11 centimeters behind the bottom bracket, because that's where my body wants it to be. Well, first of all, there are a lot of saddles that have shorter rails. So that 3.2 won't work on every bike. And then some of the new fancy bikes that are coming with proprietary seat posts, you can't get that angle. You know, I'm not talking about the BMC time machine, and those are good because their seat posts you can like start. They have different placings you can remove and just kind of start further back. But those are the things you have to look at. So when Noel contacted me, I believe I did a bike sizing for him at the same time or before. So before you buy anything, make sure you get a bike sizing done so you know what your seat tube angle should be, or look at your current bike. You know, any fitter can do that. That will tell you, okay, you need to make sure your bike is no more than, say, 72 or 73. If you look at most of the manufacturers, you'd be hard-pressed to find a 72 until you get to like 60. Back in the day, they made different sizes. Sometimes they would have a 56 that would have 2 angles to offer you for that same size. So that guys that have longer femurs could get a frame in their size. So you're not carrying an unwieldy frame because you bought a bigger frame just to get stretched out enough. I need at least a 59, 60 top tube to be able to stretch out and not have, to be able to fit the bike. Otherwise, the bars will be right up on me like that. So those are the things you must look at when you buy a bike, because the seat angle is critical. So don't just say, oh, I want to get this brand or whatever. What is a Canyon? Now they'll tell you, oh, you get a medium or a large. All that doesn't mean anything. You need to ask them. I've looked at the site. I've gone to Canyon and all these places. I don't like that they don't post the angles of the seat tube. Some of them you can get into the geometry and find out. But most of them are 73, 73.5. I can't fit that. I won't be able to get my seat post back far enough to get my saddle under me. It's kind of like working with a tool where you need to step back to get leverage, but you have no room. You're up against the wall. That's the best comparison I can make. Once again, Cisco, I hope that helps you. I don't want to talk you out of it. It needs to be a good reason why you're getting that. If you're just in the market for a bike, but make sure you get a bike sizing. Make sure you're sure your size, your angles before you spend that money. Okay. Nicholas says, Giro, yeah, I use Giro shoes. They're wide. They're pretty wide. I mean, but it depends on how wide your foot is. Some people need extra wide. I have medium. Some people have wide, or some people have, like I think they do EE or whatever it is. You find out what you need in normal shoes, and then you can kind of go with that. Because you want room when you cycle. Your feet will swell. You don't want a shoe to be grabbing you. It can cause numbness. Melanin in Asia, good morning. It's tomorrow there. She's waving. She got all these bikes. Welcome, Melanin. Jerry Davis, Jeffrey. Sorry, Jeffrey. That's one of our members. Peeking in, still at work. Welcome, Jeffrey. Yeah, so let's see here. So Nicholas said that was a concern about his snapping. Yeah. I mean, I lived it. I'm not this channel. The reason this channel works, I don't have to think about stuff. I don't have to make it up. Most of it, we live it. I make my decision based on what I've researched and tested and what has happened to me on the road. That's the reason why I do these group rides. It takes a lot of time to put that video out, but I do that so you can actually see what we're doing, not just hear about it. So yes. So no, a lot of riders, even in the UCI, just do some research. They stick with aluminum. You're not giving up much weight. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about integrity because the metal will bend, not snap on you at its limit. It doesn't mean that carbon will just it will happen with carbon all the time, but you never know. And so a lot of time when they have a knock or a crash with carbon, a lot of those guys, the pros, I'm sure, they send them back so those guys can test it and do their research and learn more about, that's how they learn. But for us folks who are spending money out of our pockets to get these things, we can't be worried about it because you had a crash. Okay, do I throw the frame away now? All that. Then you got to find some expert that will use ultrasound to see if it's still intact, because that's what's available right now. So there's a lot involved, and they're great. Everybody uses carbon. It's light. That's what people are racing with now. And so, yeah, but you can have a carbon frame and use an aluminum bar. And if you weighed both of them, they're going to be very close. Or if you die into it, get a titanium bar. It's even lighter, But I wouldn't do that. That'd be just cost prohibitive. Get an aluminum bar. They work great. That's what my bars are. They're just regular. You can see how it's deep drop. If you look at the blue bike, I get deep drop bars like big hands. I need room. I don't do shallow bars. If your hands are smaller, you need shallow bars. But you need room in there. So that's how come I can stay in the drops when I need to. As you saw last week, I didn't spend too much time in the drops. So when you're riding with other people, you see better on the hoods. So most of the riding we do, we're on the hoods. But when you're really going and you're at the front, you get in the drops. Like when I went to give Jerry a lead out, I was in the drops in that ride. So yeah. So just think about that. You save a lot of money and you have peace of mind, because carbon bars are pricey. And you might be able to get those bars are probably $50-$60. Carbon, you might pay $200, depending on what you get. Let's see here. Jeffrey says the classic lines here are timeless, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, if I were to get another bike in the future, which the N+1 theory, N meaning what you currently own. Somebody asks you how many bikes you have, you say N+1. What you currently own, So I would definitely be leaning towards a carbon bike, but I would not be getting a carbon set of bars based on my experience. Unless it was just a bike that had those integrated things or whatever. But then I would have to be really extra careful with it. So then what's the point? See, I like to just ride my stuff. I don't do lightweight stuff. I just like to ride. So the question the gentleman asked about, do I have super record? And most of my cassettes are record. The chain, they don't make a super record chain. So you just buy, now they have like a 11-speed chain that you can use across all groups. And I just get that. I don't get too crazy about that. But I have a couple of sets that are super record because they are lighter, but I don't train on that because they just wouldn't hold up. They have more titanium cogs. So you save that for your big rides or weekend rides and stuff like that. As you can see, the bike over there, I have the training wheels on there, which has the low TPI tires on there. Yeah, you give up the ride quality, but when I'm just riding by myself and training, I'm much rather just put on the toughest tires so I can train and not have to be concerned about flats as frequently. When I do the Renee Hurst, which I did in the group ride, that's for the Saturday ride. I do switch the wheels because I want to experience that. They're right here. They're going to be going on depending on what the weather does. If it's rainy, I'm not putting them on because this gets dirty. And I don't like this to be dirty. I got to clean it. I like my stuff clean. So if it rains too much in the morning, I will just put on these wheels. These are just Zondas with Continental. That's the 4000S. You see, they're all black, so in the rain, it's great. You can't see the dirt. It's just easier to deal with. But that's why it's good to have a couple of sets of wheels so that it's already set up and ready to go. You don't have to sweat. You just switch to. I mean, it doesn't take any time. And because I'm using all aluminum wheels, I don't have to change brake pads. I just switch them out. The orange bike has the carbon wheels on there. I don't like to ride carbon in the rain too much because I've got rim brakes. They don't do very well when they're wet. That's the reason everybody's pushing discs and all of that. It's another investment. I'm not anti-disc, but they bring a lot of maintenance, fiddling, rubbing, just more. They're not set it and forget it like rim brakes. And right now it's just like, if somebody gave me a bike with disc brakes, I wouldn't say no. But I know I have to spend more time messing with it because they do require more, especially if they're hydraulics or whatever. You have to take care of those brakes. And they are noisy if you don't. The discs get dirty. You got to keep them clean. If they're rubbing, then your pads won't last because the pads sit so close that sometimes you do it on the stand and it's perfect, and then you go test ride it and so yeah. And then sometimes the rotors will warp depending on how the person's using them. So then you have to true the rotor itself, not just the wheel. So discs come with their own baggage. Just like tubeless tires come with their own baggage, are harder to mount, and so everything you consider, you need to look at how much hassle you want to deal with. All right, so let's see here. Let's get back to this. You're welcome, Melanie. She says good advice. Yeah, Jeffrey agrees. Daniel Cavazos from El Paso, Texas. That's my neighbor. He's 10 hours west of here. Probably more like 10 hours from Austin. I did that drive once before. We went to Alamogordo, New Mexico to train. A lot of mountain climbs out there. So he says he's on carbon bars. I've been riding them for years, using them because of their vibration absorption properties. We have a lot of chip seal roads in southern New Mexico. Yeah, I mean, you just be careful with them. I mean, I can only go by my experience. I don't have a lot of problems with these bars vibrating. I think it has to do with how the rake of your, and then the air pressure you're using in your tires. But yes, chip seal's not a whole lot of fun. That's why I switched those tires for the weekend rides and put on the better quality tires. I run 90 to 95 PSI, and they work great. So yeah, if this is working for you, that's fine. Just remember, if you ever have a fall or whatever, get it checked out, because you can't tell with carbon until it pops on you. Benny LaFranco, he said, good evening. Thank you for sharing. You're welcome, Benny. I mean, it's great that we're able to do this. We have so many videos here already that you guys can reference, but I try to do these as frequently as possible so that we can kind of stay current and keep up with stuff. I've been following the Giro. To tell you the truth, it's not that exciting. It's almost like the heavy hitters are not there. You got Bernal kind of like in the lead now. Then this other guy, I think his name was Evenepoel or something like that. He said he had a bad day or whatever, so he fell out I think he was like in second place, 16 seconds. So it's kind of up in the air. Sagan's doing fine. He's won, some stages, and he's got the purple jersey. Well, he had the purple jersey. I don't know if he's lost it today. I haven't seen today yet. So I watched the highlights, just kind of keep up with what they're doing. But it's not the same when you don't have all the hitters. Dumoulin retired and all the other. I like to have a lot of guys at the race that can be in like the top 10, and then you get a lot of action. I was hoping Dan Martin would do well, because he said he came with good conditions, so hopefully he'll be able to get up there. But it's been good to just see them racing again. I just find, and maybe it's just me, they seem to fall a lot. Is it just me? These pros, they fall a lot. It's like they take too many risks. Some of the downhills, the one guy had to go home because he dislocated his, his shoulder or something. They just seem to fall a lot. I mean, it's just, especially like in the Tour de France, every day. It's like, come on, guys, you ride bikes all the time. What is going on? They can't be paying you that much to be throwing your bodies around like that. And maybe it's just a bunch of young guys and they're crazy. I don't know. There's so many crashes. I'm like, man. And people who are not in cycling, and when I'm watching it, to see all the crashes, they're like, geez, does this happen to you guys? I'm like, no, we're not riding like these guys. I mean, maybe the stakes are not that high, I guess. But it just seemed to have a lot of crashes just for different reasons, So hopefully they will all be able to get to the end of the race safely. So Nicholas says, great live chat. Love your channel and a lot insight on all cycling topics. No problem. I do this chat just to try to promote that. If you guys need more in-depth help, like you need personal help, use the consulting service on veloharmony.com so we can set you up. Because, when it comes to training or whatever else, if you need guidance on what programs to get, we got programs on the website. We got workouts that people download. I usually have to tell them, well, if you just want to improve this is what we recommend, that kind of stuff. So check out those training, the fitness center programs in there. I've been getting a lot of requests to set up like a monthly subscription thing on the website for training. But I like the package deal to where I put together like a block of training for the people who sign up for the coaching stuff and let them go, as opposed to the weekly stuff, because it gives you a chunk of information where you can work with. And then we have like follow up where we can review. I think it works better for me than to be tied up, because I got a lot of stuff going on. So it's been interesting. And so I use this as a sounding board to kind of get a feel for what questions people are asking and what services we can provide, to fill that need. I use a GoPro activity camera. I use a high resolution. I film in 2.7K. So you have to have a large capacity SD card. Otherwise, you run out. Because that's why the resolution is so good. You can see everything, but it's not 1080p. 1080p would just be dull. And so I film in 2.7, and then I process it after I film and upgrade it to 4K before I load it on the channel. So it's even digitally intense, so you can see the writing on someone's jersey. That's why it takes a lot of time. I use Final Cut Pro. It's made by Apple, FCPX. That's what I use to edit and upgrade it from 2.7K to 4K. All that processing, then what I do is I synchronize it to my Garmin data. And all that processing is what takes all the hours to get done, because it's got to take each frame and take all the data and match it. So imagine if you were drawing by hand, because a video is really series of snapshots. So, and the computer does that. So basically I have to use a very powerful computer to process that. I use a 16-inch MacBook Pro, and it has just an amount of processors and so forth. It has 8 different cores and all of that. So that's what speeds it up. And that's what I'm using here right now. It's just kind of, but that's the only thing I run. I run it on there overnight, and that speeds it up and it gets it done. So once the film's ready, then I use iMovie to produce the trailer, because believe it or not, they don't have a trailer feature in FCPX. So they tell you to use that. So I use that part of it in iMovie, then I move the trailer to FCPX, finish the processing, upgrade it to 4K. So I had to spend like 6 weeks when I started this channel to learn the filmmaking thing, to be able to do it, because I didn't have the capacity to send it to someone to do it. It would take forever to get a video on the channel. So the people who load frequently on YouTube mostly do their own stuff, or they got somebody in-house that does it. It's just not practical any other way. Because plus I have the ideas, so I have to edit and know what story I want to tell. So it's very involved. You're going to do something like that. Because, before I started doing this, we'd go and see cycling videos, and people just put a camera on the front of the bike and then dump the film on YouTube. You don't know what's going on, nothing. It was boring. Then they removed all the sound. So when we started doing it here, we used to get suggestions. Oh, we don't like to hear the wind or whatever. You must not like riding. Because when I go outside, I hear the dogs, the wind, the cars is all out there. So how do you not want to hear it on a film? We're not filming in a bottle. We're out in the world. So you need to hear the world. And so over the years, we've gotten to where the sound you hear now is very realistic, thanks to the software. So the sound is being reproduced as we hear, because the wind used to be overwhelming. And then I've been tuning over the years. And so I like where it is now. That's why when I do the voiceover, you hear me very well, even though everything else is going on. So it's not something that you can just do on a whim. You have to invest some time. But I like to do that kind of quality, so you guys can see everything. You can see our bottle cage. You can see the bottles. You see what we're doing. But because of that resolution, you can't see things very well when they're very far away, because it's not a telephoto kind of thing. It's a wide angle, so that's kind of cool. All right, let's see here. The river. Can you talk about body position for glute engagement and aero gains versus a more upright and comfortable position, but losing aero gains? Now, there's, how can I say? I wouldn't call it an oxymoron in that statement. A more upright position is not necessarily comfortable. That's a misconception that everybody has. I've talked about it here before, and I've talked about it in some of the videos that are now. We had a lot of setup videos on the channel, and we moved them upon request to our members only. The setup, how to do your setup for your bars and your seat posts and all of that. We moved that fore aft. Sitting upright does not make you more comfortable. And I'll use this analogy. If you're going to pick up a box, what's the first thing to tell you? You're going to pick up anything heavy. Bend your knees. You wouldn't be upright picking up something, you strain your back. It's the same thing with a bike. You're carrying a lot of load in each pedal stroke. The hills, the wind, all of that. That's load. So you're lifting. You need to be low. Look at all the top riders. Nobody's sitting upright. And you got to use them as an example, because why would they want to be uncomfortable when they average 6 hours a day on the bike? Just like you get up and go to work, they get up and go ride. So if they're riding that much, obviously the position they have is comfortable. Sitting upright is uncomfortable unless you're on a beach cruiser and you're just just at the beach looking around, sightseeing. Fine, that's different. Our sitting up like that is when we're on the tops and we're chatting. But what happens when we start going fast? You don't have to tell anybody to get lower. So you have to be set up to get in the most aero position that is comfortable for you when you need to. Being too upright is actually going to put more strain on your lower back. So you get home after the ride, if you're set up too high, your lower back aches. I get a lot of people that come for fit, and the first thing I do after I get their saddle and everything set up is I lower it. The reason why people sit upright is not because it's comfortable, it's because the saddle is in the wrong position. So they can't sit in their proper position, so they move back on the saddle, because now they're sitting on their glutes, where you're not supposed to sit on your glutes. You're supposed to sit on those two ischiopubis rhombus bones in your hip, under the bottom of your hip. That's what you sit on. So people who sit like that stand no chance against an experienced rider who's in the proper position. They can't accelerate because the saddle's in the way because you're sitting back. Imagine trying to pedal fast, leaning back on the couch. Same thing. So no, your position needs to be set up for your body, assuming the frame fits you. Not because, oh, this is more comfortable. No. Your proper position on a road bike, the classic road position. I just put a picture that Paul Ilonga took while we were riding, because like I said, the video is series of frames. I put it on Instagram and I said, the classic cycling position. I did that last weekend. If you look at the classic cycling position with that 45-degree angle of your back, that's where you start. Sitting upright does not make it comfortable. Being in this position, you're in a position to lift. Look at the guys who clean and the jerk and all of that. What do? They bring it up. When we're sitting upright on top of the bars and chatting, we're not working hard. We're warming up, chatting, shooting the breeze. As soon as it gets serious, everybody gets low. So you need to make sure that your body position should be set up to where your saddle is in the proper rearward position so that you can engage the glute. If your saddle is not set up properly, you cannot engage your glutes. That's what you're talking about. The muscles in the back of your legs can only be engaged when you have the proper height and fore-aft position, which gives you that balance you need to put your bars where they should be. So it's saddle first, then bars, So it sounds like you're working on your fit. If you need help, you can use our remote fit, and I can work with you and get you dialed in. But that's what it is. You're not going to be more comfortable sitting upright, not on a road bike per se. Even those cruisers in town that you see people sitting and they're going to work, there's a limit to how fast they can pedal those bikes. I'm talking about just the regular bikes, with fenders and everything on them. They're not designed for very fast riding. Fitness riding is a different setup. All right. Robbie Yuda Fasai, welcome. He says Saturday already there. So he must be somewhere, maybe in Asia or Australia. Marcus Warner from Australia. Great discussion. I enjoy your show. I just upgraded my 13-year-old TCR with a giant Advanced Pro 1 disc bike. Unbelievable to see how cycling has advanced over the years. Yeah, they've done a lot of stuff. Paul Ilonga has a giant, it's not disc, but he has a giant TCR. No, I think he has a giant Propel. Yeah, I think it's the Propel. The challenge he had with them was that he was trying to avoid shoving his saddle all the way back because their proprietary seat post did not have enough of a setback that he liked. And they would not even offer him the option of getting a different seat post that you could move, something back. I didn't like that about that. I don't like to be kind of pigeonholed, especially now that they're making fewer sizes and telling everybody you can ride a medium or a large. Well, the guy who's the large, the guy who's the medium will be able to move his saddle back. The guy who's the large may need to go back further because it's the same angle bike. You think they would think about that and provide flexibility like the BMC bike does, because you have different slots you can put that in. They even do that on time trial bikes. Like one of the Cervelo bikes Alan brought over here, it had a different setting where you could basically move a bracket further back and start attaching your seat posts. I think all of them should come with that for those of us who need to be further back. So Mark, I still feel like I'm engaging my glutes on my commuter bike, which has a smaller saddle to bar drop. It's not the distance between your saddle to the bar that allows you to engage your glutes. It's the position of your saddle. The position of your saddle is independent of the bars. So the bars are set for your reach after you get the saddle happy. Once you get that position right back there, I've heard of people trying to move the saddle forward to get closer to the bars. No, you set your saddle independently, and when you want to move the bars, you adjust the stem. If the bars need to go out, you get a longer stem. If it needs to come in, you get a shorter stem. If it needs to go down, you loosen it and lower it, and so forth and so on. They're independent settings. But it's whether it's a commuter bike or a race bike or whatever, your body is using the same point in space. So the dimensions, as far as you setting up where your body's going to meet everything, should be the same. Even if you're setting up a mountain bike, your body is not changing. You have to make that bike come and meet your body. And people just hedge. They'll get a different size frame. And I'm going to get this because it's stiffer, it's shorter. Then what they get a longer seat pin. And then they have to accommodate that with more spacers in the front because this smaller frame now, the headset is way down. They got to bring it up to where it needs to be, And you can make it that's what that's about. That's what fit. But it can get pricey because you got to keep buying those parts within reason. At some point, if the frame's too small, you just can't get it to fit your body, and then people just make do. So no, that's why I tell everybody before you spend a lot of money, get a bike size and done. Because if you have the right size frame, it's easier to fit you. Let's see here. Melanin, what are your thoughts on crit racing? I watched the Legion cycling team. Do you watch? Yeah, I've actually watched them. They carry the cameras on their helmet. As much as I like cycling, and I've raced, so I know what they're doing. But people who haven't done that, it's not that exciting to watch. You just see a bunch of guys look like they're trying to run away from each other. And so you can't, if you don't understand the tactics, it doesn't look very reasonable. They're just, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about since you watched them. They blast off. Then another guy comes and people jumping on his wheel so they can save energy. Same thing I was talking about in the ride. And once they get up to that guy, somebody else shoots off. Then the corner comes because you got all the cornering. And that's why you got to really work on intervals. Every corner, you got to accelerate out of there. Yeah, I watch them. It's pretty cool. The Legion is a good team. It's good to see a team that has a mix of people from all over the world. I like that. Different shades of people. It's about time to put some color in this sport. River, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Well, cool. You're welcome, River. Jeffrey says today was equally as boring. I think he's talking about the Giro. Yeah, it just, I couldn't watch 3 hours of that. They got to, back in the day where Bernardino would just attack early and he's a contender. Then you had Le Mans and Hampton and then trying to bring Le Mans back. There's drama. But right now it's like nobody's really willing to take the risk. Kind of like in our rides, Paul knows what I'm talking about. We crest that hill and everybody kind of like you hit a wall. They're looking around. Nobody wants to go because it hurts. And then, no, we have more kilometers left. That's what's going on in the Giro. Everybody's being cautious. I don't know what they're waiting on. So hopefully they'll have some hills. It depends on, maybe today was flat. I don't know. I've got to watch it later. Nicholas laughing at something. Nicholas said, how do you get the riding stats on the video? Yeah, from your head unit, you have to use software and synchronize it, Nicholas. You have to synchronize it so that it basically, if you don't synchronize it, then it's not correct. Thanks, Mark. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Yeah, you have to. So what I do basically is my head unit on the bike, it's actually on there now. I process the data from my head unit. My head unit sends the data to Strava as soon as I'm done, and then I release the ride to everybody who follows Veloharmony on Strava. It's that same data that I take and I put in the software and synchronize it to a point in the frame. So I have to pull up the picture and find an intersection and say, okay, this is where we are right now. There's a map. And you start, and you have to synchronize each clip. And sometimes it might be as much as 13 or 15 clips, because the way that it films, it does not do a continuous film. It segmentizes them. It basically cuts them into clips. And I think they're like maybe 8 to 10 minutes a piece for each clip. There's a reason it does that. I'm not sure why. So when you pull it into the software, you don't get one piece of film to do everything. So you work with clips. This is the reason why when we come and the members are on the premiere, we don't do a lot of talking. Hello, because I'm watching it for the first time too. Because I work with it in pieces. It's like I bake the cake and all I see are the eggs, the butter, the flour, all of that. I don't get to see the whole cake. So when I'm watching it during the premiere on Tuesday, that's the first time I'm seeing it. And I like it that way. But people don't understand that. They figure, oh, you work with it. No, I don't see the final product because I'm doing the voiceover to clips. So I got pieces of audio being joined to pieces of film. And then Final Cut Pro puts it and makes a movie out of it. That's why I keep telling people enjoy the film. It's a movie. And basically, I'm not doing it in the anamorphic right now, but it's still widescreen, and it's 4K. So FCPX produces that film, and I get to watch it with you guys during the premiere, all our members on the channel. And it's really fun. Everybody comes in, good morning, and we chat. Sometimes Jeffrey would say he's still at work or whatever, but I'm seeing it for the first time, just like everybody else, because I've seen the pieces, but I didn't get to see everything put together by the software. And it's really cool because that's how they work with film in Hollywood. So I learned a lot over the last few years dealing with this. Just working, they call it a timeline where you bring the clips in and you have other graphics like the logos and other things. The animations, I had to build animations for the street names. That's why you see them coming in and they're rolling. It may look simple, but it takes time. But once you do it, you have a template you work with. It makes it a little easier to replicate. So it's fun. I like that kind of stuff, but that's what it is. It's you can use software to do that. If you're trying to melt stuff like that, I mean, there are people that I walk through, but it's very detailed. So I work with them. They do our consulting service, and I work with them and show them how to edit the film. Because if you don't know how you're doing it, take forever. All right, let's see here. Unboxing hype. Any reason you choose the Dynamic over any other SMP saddle? Yeah, I didn't have a vendor locally that carried SMP, and they're not inexpensive. When I got them, they were north of $200. So that's what, maybe 180 pounds or something like that. So it's not, you can't just try that, because once you install the saddle, if you have any kind of scuffs, you can't really return it. So I picked that based on Steve Hogg, which is a fitter that I haven't met, but I've followed him, just read his reading. You know, he writes a lot of stuff about fit over the years, and he recommended the S&P Dynamic because that's what he gave to most of his customers. He's in Australia. And so I decided to try the Dynamic because once I read up about how S&P designed the saddle, the Dynamic fits more than 95% of people with no problems. And he even indicated in the article he wrote, I bought his ebook many, many years ago. He said that because of the Dynamic, the sales of the former, which is another S&P, just basically stalled because that's what he sells. Everybody likes the Dynamic. And he said, if you're going to try one saddle, it might as well be. And I ordered one just to try and fell in love with it. So that's why you see them on all my bikes. You find a saddle that suits your anatomy, stay with that. It just makes it easy. Doesn't mean it's the only saddle I can ride. I've ridden the Flight. Back in the day, they had the Flight saddle. Wasn't as sturdy. I like this because it feels good and it's rock solid. It doesn't move. I don't like saddles that move. And the fancier saddle, the lighter ones that move. I'm a big guy. I don't want saddle moving. You know, I'm 87, 86, 87 kilos. If I sit on a lightweight saddle, it's going to give. So it won't be level anymore. You know, that S&P, when you set it, you forget it. It's not going to change on you. And it is firm, which is what you need. You don't need a cushy saddle. You need something that gives a little bit, but firm. That's what you need. People think you need gel and all the gel covers. They're trying to solve other problems. Because I get a lot of people that come in here. I talked about the last guy who did a fit 6 centimeter saddle out of the height because he had a 3 centimeter gel pad over the saddle. He actually gave a review. He said that his knee problem went away. He had knee problems on the side. And so the saddle was just too high and people can injure themselves. So yeah, always choose a saddle that you can try. Some of the shops will have loaners, and some of the manufacturers actually make a saddle in a special color that they call a loaner. S&P does that, but nobody here carried them. And so you can get that and try it. Then it's better to do that because you're not out money. But if you're going to be spending money, then you got to be really sure you've done some research to say, there's a higher chance of me liking this than you just stuck with a saddle. You know, I didn't worry too much about it because I fit enough people to where I knew I would be able to get somebody to buy the saddle from me or whatever. But I was looking for a saddle that would get me off the Specialized ramen that I used to ride. It just didn't mate with my body very well. It was okay. I've tried the Physique, the Arione. It was all right. It was a little too long, longer than I like, you know, nothing wrong with it. And then I just fell in love with this one. So I stopped there and just got 3 of them for the bikes. You know, so my goal is to hopefully get a spare before they decide to not make it anymore. But this is the model that fits most people, women and men. Our hips are similar. The women have wide hips, but where we sit on, the curvature of those bones are the same. So all they do is they make a pink Dynamic or white Dynamic or whatever, because the women like that color, or the Bianchi color. I don't know what they call that, like a light green color. They make that, and the women gravitate to that, but the saddle is exactly the same. You know, so that was another thing I had to learn over the years, that as far as women being fitted when it comes to competition is pretty close, you know, because you want to make sure that some people like their saddle just a touch down, but I don't go more than 3 degrees. And 3 degrees is not that much. Anything more than that, you start sliding, you know. So yeah, let's see here. Excuse me, Nicholas. Ruby Yuda Fasa. Any video about you just cycling around town? No, I don't make videos when I'm just cycling around town. Other than if you look on the channel, yeah. I called it. Let's see. I think I called it Peace or something. I did a video where I forgot the name. It was pretty popular. It's in white. It's actually an anamorphic widescreen layout with the black bars. Cycling for Peace. If you search on the channel, Cycling for Peace, that's a video of me just cycling around town. You know, but most of the time when I cycle, I don't want to take a camera. I just go, just me in the road, you know. Yeah, but yeah, so I've got that. We're just cycling around town, and we have many group rides where it's just Paul and I cycling, no group. We have quite a few of them. So if you look in the group cycling videos playlist, yeah, there's plenty. Yeah, that's why we have so many videos. I don't make too many more, because most of the time I just want to go ride and not worry about documenting anything. But that one you will like, Cycling for Peace, because I just went out. It was real beautiful. We got to see, the lakes in the area with the fountains and everything. It was pretty neat. And then the music is good too, the track that follows that. Yeah, the thing is that Garmin Verb Edit. The problem with these free software, guys, the free is a caveat. Important. So you got to get in there and try to figure it out. It takes a lot of time. Even the FCPX that I use, which calls for the software, there is no documentation that tells you how to use it. You really have to. I guess they want you to get their support or whatever. But I'm a software about. So you've got to invest the time to learn the tool. So FCPX is not something you're going to learn in 1 day or 5 years. And the reason I'm saying that is because every time you use it, you will have to pick up new things based on what you want to do. So if you look on my channel, if you go to the channel page, the home page, I have what I call other experts that I follow. There's a guy named Ben Hazel on there. I don't know if that's the name. Let me see here. Let me get his name. Because you want to spend time on these channels that will teach you how to use these tools. I'm trying to get the name. If you go to my channel, just the regular channel page, I added a list because people have asked for this many times, and I just thought I would put it here. So if you look, I think it's under, let's see, membership store. YouTube keeps moving stuff around. I'm trying to see where they put that right now. I think I have experts or channel experts or something. Let's see here. Community playlist. I don't see where they've moved it. But his name is Ben Halsall. Let me get his channel link because I don't see it on here. It used to be on there. Let me get his channel link for you guys. For those of you who are interested in learning Final Cut Pro, here's the link for one of the professional channels on YouTube that I use to pick up tips as I went along learning the software. So yeah, it's not exciting. There's no laughter. This is like class. Okay. But he's one of the better ones that doesn't start at chapter 10. And he teaches you just want to do this. This is what you do. That's the way you want to learn film editing. You don't want to think that I got to learn all 20 chapters. You focus on what function you want to do, because then it stays with you because you're going to use it. Because there's so much involved, with FCPX. And what Apple has done is you can search on their site for FCPX documentation, but it has everything. So I found it better to just search for what I wanted to do. So if I wanted to animate graphics, I searched for that. If I want to animate text, I search for that. Now, I'm going to put a qualification here. There's a lot of other people that will try to sell you plugins and other stuff. You don't need to buy that. I don't own one plugin for FCPX. I just use what's in the application. Because there are plugins that will do stuff, but if you take the time to learn the application, it does it just as well, and it's free instead of you buying plugins. Because once you start adding plugins to your app, you can affect the performance of the app. So it sounds like you want to get into making films, then you need to invest the time. Like I said, the first 6 weeks of doing this, I was in film school because I wanted to do it better than people just dumping video off of a GoPro. And then, we watched one video one time. Paul and I shared the link. It was somewhere in the Netherlands. and a bunch of guys. It was winter. It was a sunny winter day. It was cold. There was no sound. And we saw maybe, I'll say maybe 50 riders, a local race. And as much as we love cycling, it was dull. I couldn't even watch 2 minutes of it. They're just riding. You hear nothing. Well, when do you ride and hear nothing? So it didn't even seem like a ride. It's like they were in a test tube or something. They were like, I didn't want to do that. So yeah. All right, let's see here. So we're going to wrap up here. Melanin says she's going to try that saddle. But Melanin, why are you changing your saddle? Are you having problem with the Cell Italia? Remember, cell just means saddle, Melanin. That Italia is probably the model. But if it's not uncomfortable for you, but if it's long in the tooth and you just want to try something, then definitely you can't go wrong with SMP. Just make sure it's set up correctly and it's, start with it being level. Let's see here. So, okay, I'm going to take this one. Yeah, let's see. Unboxing hype. What's your thoughts on the RCC memberships? I'm on the fence about joining. Shanny D. Welcome, Shanny D. I'm a member of the RCC. I have my issues with them, but for the most part, I like the kits that they come up with. And, some of the stuff is okay, but some of it is ridiculous. I ordered a Silca pump that was it was supposed to be small. The guy had it was huge. And it was quite a bit overpriced, but all the Silca stuff, it's like Tiffany for cycling. And so I just wanted to try it in that color, in the RCC color. But, after maybe a week or so, I had to tell my buddy Paul, I said, you know what, I'm sending this thing back. I did not find myself picking up the pump. The reason being was the pump was too big. It was almost maybe a third bigger than the current pump we have. And it was long. It was a bit unwieldy. It didn't feel right in the pocket. And I'm like, what were they thinking about? Didn't they try this before Silca made it? Silca made the pump, then made one in the RCC colors. They do that a lot. Silca also made this. I will show you in the RCC color. Let me get it. I already own this. This is not RCC. And if you're thinking about the RCC, you've probably seen it. These are like designer tools. This is what I do when people come for a fit. It has everything you need to get in between. You know how these seat posts are very narrow. Some of them got the funky little bolt that's under the saddle, but no split, So this allows me, just a little head there, to get under the saddle and get in there to adjust tilt and all of that. I like that. And it just stays in here, so I don't have to mix it with the tools that I use in the shop. But still RCC colors. So where you see red, it's actually the navy and with the lines. Yeah, it looks good. But it's almost a third more expensive than this one. I'm like, just because you changed the color, they did the same thing with that pump. I ended up sending the pump back because the pump was so big that it didn't even fit next to my bag in my pocket. I didn't end up using it. I'm like, I can use that money for something else. Now, let's focus more on the pros for RCC. I, for one, don't have a club here. There is no club in the area. I don't care particularly. I didn't join it because of that. I joined it because they bring unique stuff. The RCC socks, the RCC kit, the RCC logo, pro team stuff, all of that. Right now, they're bringing a new jersey. But sometimes they can turn you off because I told Paul about it. They designed a new RCC jersey before it came out. All you saw was a piece of it in the picture, coming soon. Then they wanted you to pay ahead of time to reserve it. I can't reserve something I haven't seen. I don't even know if I'll like it, So I think it's cool if you have a club there, even if you didn't, and you just like the RCC kit because they do winter and whatever. It's great to have, but here's the thing. The RCC stuff, until it goes on sale, it doesn't go on sale very often. A lot of times it sells out. So you don't only get access to RCC stuff. You get access to General stuff before the rest of the public. So when they're going to release something, you get first dibs. They might give you up to a week to buy something before they release it to everybody else. And it can be non-RCC stuff, just anything Rafa comes up with. So there are a lot of perks that come with it. If you do some of the big rides and races, they're there. They have a booth. They have a lot of, if you read through the stuff, I think it's worth it. Especially, they cut the price in half about a year ago. I think that's when I signed up. So it's around like $100. What's that, 80 pounds for a year? But you do get a lot of perks. And right now, what we're waiting on is the designer jersey called the etiquette for the tour. The etape is where amateurs go and ride the some of the stages of the tours. And they did a jersey a while back. They designed it because we didn't have the tour at the regular time last year. And so you get dibs on things that are not only exclusive from everybody else, but exclusive within RCC. So if you didn't reserve early for the RCC, for the etape, you don't get a copy. So just because you're in the RCC doesn't mean you get access to everything. So you got to sign up, but they give you dibs before everybody else. So I think that's kind of cool. I think it's worth it for $100 a year. And then you have a club in the area, or you have a local one. The closest one to me is in Colorado, Boulder. So that's where they linked me when I signed up with the Boulder chapter per se. So if you got one in Miami, I don't know how far Miami is from where you are, but yeah, so maybe you get a chance to ride with them. But for me, I didn't join it because I wanted to ride with the guys in Boulder. I just wanted to get some of the access to the unique stuff, because besides everything I told you about, they do a lot of designer things with I forgot the designer name, Paul something, one of the other guys. So anything unique that's coming, sometimes it will only be available to RCC guys, even though it's not RCC stuff. They'll make stuff that's only available to you. So you get a lot more from not just their garments, but other activities. So I think at this price point, it's pretty good. It used to be $200 and they cut it in half, and it wasn't promotional. That's what it is now, So then they put that on your account and you get like a special logo when you log in that denotes you as an RCC member. So let's see here. Shani says she saw the pump. Yeah, somebody left a message on the Rafa reviews on their site that said, has Rafa lost his mind? It was $155 for a pump, a small pump. And it was a guy from out of Amsterdam or Netherlands or somewhere. He said, has Rafa lost his mind or something like that? I just laughed. I just wanted to see it. I love the return thing. You can send it back, no problem. So I sent it back. It wasn't very practical. It's a good pump because they use leather in there. So when you're pumping, it doesn't get hot like usually the small pumps do. But it just wasn't something you want to carry in your pocket. It was just a little too fat to be in the pocket. It was almost like the same size as the regular size pump as far as the diameter, just shorter. It just wasn't, So I didn't end up using it. I just sent it back. They have some good ideas. The new kit is out. They've got the new kit out there. As soon as they released it, it's all sold out. Then they say, oh, well, there's more coming or whatever. But, the color, they changed the color to navy or whatever they did. So they do good designs, so it's kind of nice to have. But it's not just the kits. It's just everything else that they give you. At this price point, I felt like it was a good deal. You can go you can rent the bikes from the different clubs and so forth. So they do a lot of things. Paul and I use the Topique. It's called a Topique. Let me put the link here for you. I have it on the website. People have been asking about it since I talked about it last week. Let's see. Let me find the link for you. What is this? There we go. Here we go here. I went ahead and put a link on the website. I put a link on the website because people have been asking about that, Shani. Here's it. It'll take you straight to the pump. because not all the little pumps are created equal. Some of the little pumps are low pressure for mountain bike tires. They pump volume. You want little pumps that are high pressure for road tires. So within 28 to 30 seconds, you're done. I even made a video on the channel where I compared it to the old Z-Fowl, and it was within seconds of pumping up a tire. So we love it. I don't have to keep carrying canisters and keep buying canisters. One-time expense, you're done. It's like 30 some dollars or so, no more than 40. I think about 40. I bought one carbon, one aluminum. Aluminum's a little less expensive, but you can't tell the difference. More for look than anything. Yeah. So we're going to wrap up here. I want to thank all of you that did the super chats today. I really appreciate that. That encourages me to keep doing that. So we appreciate you supporting the channel. Means a lot. I like this setup. It's working. I like being near the stuff that I talk about. Makes it more practical to show you than just talk about stuff. But, you know, tomorrow's Saturday. Get out there, move around, get the fresh air, you know. Cisco 213. Hope again, thank you so much for coming and supporting the channel. We appreciate it. Get out there, get your K's in, and stay fit. We're getting out of tomorrow. If you're looking for reasonable price jerseys, I got another one here I'm wearing. I may wear it tomorrow. It depends on what the weather does. But these are just nice for summer. So we're gonna, you know, try to get out there and get some K's in our legs, of course. What else is there to do on a Saturday morning? You're welcome, Musa. How do you say in French? You say bonsoir. Good evening to you. Je parle français un peu. En Afrique. You guys take care and be safe out there. Until next time.